Hello, occupants of the realm of life. This is the board from the Fire and Jade Spearhead way of playing. And this is the terrain that came with the SkavenTide box. I was so glad that the big main box had terrain. Now, I wish it would have been more, but I understand that that would have just made the price of the box so prohibitively expensive and so much bigger. So, but this is apparently what you need to play Spearhead, and that game's been really popular. I apologize for calling the first video Gihran. I thought that's what this represented. I was confused between the realm of beasts, I guess it is, and the realm of life. I find the 8 realms kind of confusing, especially since there's only 4 grand alliances. So that's what's up with that. So the main thing with this was to have a light. And this is basically like a stadium light here. And that's what I need to be able to see. I was very unsatisfied with it. I started painting and just sort of forgot to get my light and turn it on. And it goes dead pretty quick too. So now this is not really my aesthetic as far as the colors, but I want it to look different. And 3 out of the 4 have a little bit of fire on them, so I wanted it to work with the realm of fire as well, which is the other side of the map. For what it is, I'm pretty happy with it. It was over complex. I zenithal primed it as in the first video, and then I dry brushed it using green skin, the third darkest color in the deep greens for WarPaints Fanatic, and then the 4th deepest color, Eternal Hunt, and then the last most color is called Ferocious Green. So I use this to dry brush it, and I started with the darkest color on the bottom, dry brushed the bottom 1/3, and then did the middle, and then did the upper. If you do this method, and I wanted to make it look like moss, and I guess that's the aesthetic I needed, so I guess I don't regret it. If you do this method, don't give up if you've done the first couple colors and it just doesn't look right. It really came together for me with the 3rd color when I dry brushed it. I added some matte medium to the paint, and it still worked for dry brush, even though it was a little thinner than the WarPaints Fanatic. So the paint was a little thinner than I really like to use for dry brushing, but it worked fine. And again, I don't use a paper towel, I use a microfiber cloth so that you don't get that real bad look. It was a little bit too much, so I did some highlighting, as I'll describe later. Okay, then when I painted the details, I started out with dark warm gray ProAcryl and painted the black parts. And I made a wash first of all, and I used 2 drops of matte medium in about 10 milliliters of water, and so a milliliter is 20 drops. I'm sorry, I'm used to working in a lab, so I really have no feel for what it is in ounces, and I'm probably better off to use milliliters. I'll probably be more accurate. And then 1 drop of retardant, because I wanted it to flow by gravity down into the deeper places. And then the rest water. And then I used a lot of that, probably 2 or 3 brush fills with a brush fill of paint on the wet palette to make a wash, and then I painted the actual black parts. This bell was actually done with the wash, and I kind of liked how it turned out. A little bit thicker than what I used to just paint all the underneath parts with the wash, right? Like inside these shelves and stuff like that, all right? Then I went with brown for the wood. The biggest improvement was in the brown. Once I turned the light on, I could actually see what I was doing. It was much better. Ivory for the skeletons, and gray for everything else. And I also highlighted like the top of all of these bricks. I just went from the top to the bottom, and also edges, like I could have highlighted this edge and it would have looked better in that one. But I just highlighted like the top, and you can't even really see it that obvious because it blended in, but that really made it look a lot better because it was a little bit too much. Now I could have done more on the end here. I would have done like up here where it's real green. I would have done like the top of these more. Live and learn. This guy, I wanted to kind of make a faded gold, so I made it out of yellow and brown, but it kind of seeped into the primer, so it's going to take some more coats. This was super easy to paint. And then as far as the fire, I wasn't really happy with the fire at all until I used gloss medium. That's really what it started making looking like fire to me. So I was much happier. I really like the design of these pieces. I think they're beautiful in a sublime sort of way. And I start out with red, making the fire, orange and yellow, and it worked to put the gloss on at the end after I was done, or it worked to put the gloss on the beginning right over the primer and then paint over it with these. Either way worked fine to make it look a little more glossy. I avoid gloss in all other cases on my terrain because I want the emphasis to be on my armies, not on the terrain. So I always go with matte colors and stuff on my terrain and try to go in a very limited color set, but I make an exception for fire. And that's about it. Check your subscription status, please, because I just lost a couple subscribers and I'm sure it was actually YouTube that booted them out. So check your subscription status, and I appreciate the likes and comments. Thank you very much. Have a good day.